Welcome everyone. This is the Effects Masters program, lesson 8. This is going to be a fun one. We're going to be working with penguins, and as you may have seen already from my promotional images, then everyone seems to love them because they're penguins and because the way they look. Right? It's going to be fun. So yeah, let's get to it. This lesson we're going to be using topics from again Maya Dynamics 1. As far as the instancer goes. And we're going to combine that with some of the effects prototyping, specifically penguin distribution, all right, topics. And then we're going to be spicing things up a little bit more towards the next lesson and the one after that, adding more atmospherics and things like that to getting more complicated shots. Also, everything is just found on the first video of BBC Planet Earth. There's some of the stuff in here. Okay, so see how they look. Remember something, right? I usually like to do my disclaimer at the beginning. Remember, we're talking about prototyping. We're talking about speed, flexibility, okay, ease of use, having your client to play with the scene file, which is great. So we're not looking for precision as far as the motion of the birds or individual behaviors. No, we're talking about groups. We're talking about distribution, okay? That being said, I created, like I said, you may have seen those already from my promotional material, but last night I stayed really late. Let me see if it's, okay, so there you go. We're going for something like this. Random distribution, okay, random placement, natural behavior, okay, but you're going to see how we go from something so simple to something more complex like this. A different angle, for example. The idea is that they huddle together to fight the cold and the wind. So assume that this is just them. If you haven't seen it, I recommend it to see it. Always I recommend to see Planet Earth. That's because it has to do with the course as well. But if you haven't seen March of the Penguins, the documentary, Morgan Freeman is the narrator on it. It's fantastic. It has a few years already that it came out. Give it a shot and watch it. This will be a situation probably towards the way they behave. They find their mate. They do their business, and then the females go to eat, and the males stay there with the eggs and all. So at some point they start to group together. Once the weather starts to become more colder and colder, they start to group, and they try to behave as a one mass, and they take turns to fight in the cold. Who's outside, who's inside. It's a quite interesting behavior. My point with this is we're not going to mimic entirely that because it's a little more complicated. That's something that is for a final shot, and then animators will be involved, and it's a different situation. But this is perfect, what we're going to do today, for your client and your director to plan the shot, to plan the scale, to plan the number of animals that he's going to need, the way that they kind of come together. You're going to see it's very flexible. But I do want you to have something in mind and never forget it. Never get rid of it. I'm showing you these pictures also for a reason. Well, that's not what I want. I want this one as well. A top view, okay, so you can see like paths, where these birds are kind of coming through as groups. They definitely group. They have a group mentality. They're aware, obviously, of their neighbors, and they tend to behave in this kind of fashion. But what I'm trying to say with this is to keep in mind that you need to let go of all your things that you may have read, that you may have heard regarding let's say issues with the instancer or stupidity. I don't want to even know any comments. I'm not talking about the group. You can post anything you like in the group. I'm just saying that in my career, in my day-to-day, I don't want to hear complaints and limitations that you guys may put on yourselves regarding the instancer or interpenetrations or things like that. I can tell you here for a fact that there are 20,000 penguins. Okay? They all come from one model, one bird. And yes, I can tell that, there's repetitive patterns, but if you see pictures of them in real life, They're repetitive. There's some skin variation, there's some tone variation. This is from Happy Feet, I think. That's cheating. But this is real. So tell me it's not repetitive. It looks like a carpet. It does look like a carpet. And I challenge you, or I challenge anyone who tries to say something negative about, look at this, how repetitive it can be. And they're animated and they have their necks bent, which mine don't. But again, this is a prototype. This is a real deal. So it depends on the shot, you're going to be using one technique or the other. What I'm trying to say is there are 20,000 penguins. They all come from one master penguin. They're all clumped together here. And I guarantee you, I know that there are interpenetrations in here. But I challenge you to render this on your own and find them. And make them something that is worth worrying about. And it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So I want you to be flexible. Flexibility. And that is the key for this. Because the people that limit themselves, trying to say, oh, I need to have interparticle collisions or end particles. I'm starting to hear end particles are better than particles. It could be. It could be. But particles, or what they want to call now the legacy particles, probably I'm a legacy of XTD. I'm a dinosaur, right? But the dinosaur has something to say, so it does work. Particles, regular particles work, and they work in large numbers. They're easier to use. And like I told someone on the groups not long ago, you don't need a bazooka to kill a fly. You don't need a 747 to go buy the bread in the corner. So don't overcomplicate your lives. At the end of the day, you are the only ones who are going to pay the price. With overtime, with headaches, with phone calls from producers at odd hours. Avoid that. Avoid that. I can guarantee you that there are films and there are shows where you can work and get things done right without working overtime, without slaving yourselves, and I have proof. Because on the John Carter film, my crew, which is about 20 something guys, you can contact any of them and ask them if the year and a half that I was there, if they work 1 hour of overtime. Never. So this misconception, this idea that the studios want to put on you, that you have to slave yourselves and kill and you don't sleep and you don't have a family and you don't see your wife and your children, is bullshit. I don't like to curse in my film, my recordings, but hell, it's bullshit. That's not true. You need to find ways to work efficiently. You need to remove boundaries from your mind. And you need to focus on what matters. And the only thing that matters is the final picture, is this. I'm not saying this is the best shot ever, or this is the most realistic thing. No, of course not. I know I can do better. I know you can do better once you start watching this thing. But what I want you to understand is that as you may see a complex behavior in here, a complex positioning of the agents, of the animals, it is a simple process. It doesn't involve end particles. It doesn't involve interparticle collisions, and it still looks good. And what matters is that it has to look good. And another thing, if it looks good like this, simple, raw image. Once we put atmosphere, okay? Once we put the volumetric snow, once we put particle snow, okay? Once we do a different type of lighting, man, if you find them, the interpenetrations or issues, hell, tell me, okay? I'll make a special video just for you. Okay, it's not going to happen, man. So enjoy yourself, because this is enjoyable. I was doing this last night until 4:30 in the morning, and I went to sleep because I saw the time and I said, well, I have to go to sleep. But I was having a great time myself. Someone who, I've been corrupted and polluted by 15 years of doing films, and I still enjoy this thing. So I want you to enjoy yourselves. I want you to have fun. I want you to come up with ideas, as always. I want you to change things that I say, try something different, apply it for other situations. But please, I beg you, don't worry. Just do things and then focus on the image. If the image starts to suffer, then it's great. Okay, we need to change it. We need to find another solution. So please, I'm begging you to have fun with this thing and enjoy yourselves. Okay, so perfect. That's my pep talk for the beginning. Let's go for it. Done. All right, so I'm gonna leave these pictures just in case. I'm gonna leave this video out just in case. This is just to show you that this is my VFX Learning FX Masters program. Whoever dares to steal this is gonna suffer. I'm not talking about you guys. All right, cool. Blank scene. Let's do this thing from the beginning, because I think by now you guys are already very skilled doing the initial setup, so we can do it quickly. But you could recycle any of the previous ones. The ones with the predators, you can recycle the one with the birds. You could recycle anything you like. First, a little introduction, simple introduction. What is the instancer? And I say simple because if you want to know slowly, with more time and more calm, like I always say, refer to the FX Power User program. If you don't have access to it for some reason, email me. Okay? Email me and then we'll figure out why you don't have access and we're going to sort that out for you. Okay, so, but roughly, if you don't want to jump back, I'll create my particle emitter. I know you've been waiting for this class for a while because I announced that I was going to do it about 4 or 5 days ago. But I just wanted to make sure that the previous lessons were, really clear and well recorded. I don't like to rush anything. We have plenty of time together. We have about close to a year. And I'm hoping, just on a side note, I'm hoping to meet you guys. I'm going to start announcing soon. I'm planning with my girlfriend now the order of the countries that we're going to be visiting and traveling. And I'm hoping to meet you guys. I'm hoping to, once I'm in each country, I'm going to, obviously, before I leave, I like to keep people posted what my move's going to be. I'm going to let you guys know so we can meet up and hopefully have some pizza, watch a movie. And if the space allows me, or if you can help me with a little bit of space, then we can do some of these lessons live, really live, like, one next to each other. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Right now, I'm in Colombia, if you guys don't know. And I'm expecting to start traveling probably next month. So I'll keep you guys posted. All right, cool. So the instancer is a very interesting way. It's a very old system. I learned this thing about 16 years ago, and it's the same. But like I always say, it doesn't mean that it's bad. It does work quite well. But it's a simple way for you to place geometry. Sorry, I created a NURBS cone. I never use the shells, but let's use it for today. All right, so it's a way for you to place geometry on particles. And then have the geometry move based on the motion of the particle. So how does it work? It's very, very simple. You grab the particles, go to the outliner. Oh, another thing, I updated yesterday my operating system. And last night when I was when I was preparing the class, I noticed that my Maya started behaving a bit funky. Sometimes it doesn't recognize my keyboard input as far as the wireframe and shade and all those things. But so I'm just saying that ahead of time in case you see that it's acting a bit funny. It's just me. It's in my case, but hopefully it won't happen. I don't know. I restarted my computer. I just didn't want to restart last night, but it should be okay now. We'll see. But don't worry about it if it's something weird. Or if you see me clicking on things extra, because I can always right click. I can say 5 for shaded, 4 for wireframe. Right now it seems to be working. But at some point it might not. So don't worry about it. All right, so to instance, okay, or to place this piece of geometry onto my particles, okay, you can just select both. Go to the particle shape. And, well, you can do it that way. I was going to show you this. You can just open the instancer tab. And here's where you're going to have all your attributes once it's created. But to create an instancer, then you can go to M particles or whatever the menu for particles right now. And we're going to be using the instancer, which is right here. If you open the options, then you have some of the attributes that are already here. Okay. Grab the geometry. I don't want to add. These are the objects that you're going to be instancing. You can instance, as you can see, more than one. In this particular case with the penguin, we're going to use just one. But then following examples, we're going to work with forests and other things, and we're going to use multiple. But for now, let's just keep it at one. So because I have both things selected and I opened the instancer, it had both here. So I'm going to remove the particle. I'm going to stick to this cone, which is the one I have. The naming doesn't matter. The particle system, when I'm going to be placing at the moment, is just one in the scene, so that's it. But if you had more than one, there will be a list down here, and hit create. And as you can see, this very simple way, okay, of having cones on each particle. With this, you can do many things. Particles can move, they can be static. Just find, something that you're interesting about, and then just play with it. In simple broad strokes, that's what the instancer will do. I will show you the details and the particulars with a proper example with the penguins. Like I said, if you want to learn a bit more about the instancer, go to my Power User program, level 1, and there will be planes and there'll be other things. Explain a little bit slower. But let's go, and with that out of the way, okay, this is the way it works. Let's open a new scene. Like I said, I'm gonna do this from scratch. Why not? So quickly, let's create a polyplane. What I may not do, depending on how long the lesson will go, we may not turn it into a system, but now you've done that so many times that it doesn't really matter. Okay, so I'm gonna start with this plane. Quickly, we're gonna emit from object. You've seen this many times, doesn't really matter. Explaining this again. There we go. Open my outline. I just want to show you. I created an M particle system, and it's not like I'm against them or I get paid for using the other particles. No, it's just I don't think it's time yet. And now that I touched the subject, why not talk about it? If you've seen on the group, there was a conversation with me yesterday about that. I will use M particles when I see the time is correct. I want to teach you everything the hard way. And by now it hasn't been hard. You cannot say that it's been hard. Actually, I got a couple of comments that said that it's been too easy. They expect them to be a little bit harder, and it will be. Trust me, Avatar is not easy cake. So when we get to those lessons, then you need to be ready. I don't want to scare you. First of all, I don't want to discourage you to learn these things. I have a lot of experience. I don't mean to brag or anything, but I do have a lot of experience doing these things, and I know why I'm telling you this. I know why I'm saying that it's not time to use M particles yet. Okay, I don't wanna spoil all the opportunities you have to learn how things work and why they work, and have the ability to do them one way or the other. So I think it's appropriate to do it this way. So trust me, because you're at the end of the day, you're paying for a course. You're paying me for my experience and my advice. And believe me when I tell you that I want to see all of you doing films. I want to see your names on the screen. I want you to tell me, Louis, hey, guess what? I just finished a film. Go watch it. And I love cinema, and I'm gonna love it even more if I see your names in there. And I'll be the one who stays at the end and sees your name and takes a picture and puts them on Facebook. Trust me, that's the way. That's what I want. There's been cases where it has happened before, and I want to see it more every day. So, be next to me and let me guide you through this, and you will get the most out of it. Trust me. I could be lazy and I could say just go to M particles, forget about the other particles. They're going to disappear. That's not true. They're not going to disappear. They haven't. M particles have been around for like 6 years, and the other ones, they just changed their name, but they're still there. And if they remove them, people will complain and they will put them back because it's ridiculous. So I could be lazy and just jump in and say, you know what, all these attributes have made, this is the radius, this is the stickiness, this is the collisions. That's not the way it works, man. You need to learn everything. And this is fun. And it's faster and it's better. So yeah, it's out of the way. It's that. All right, cool. We get particles in here, but I made the wrong ones. Let's go and emit from object on the legacy particles. Surface, hit create, beautiful, my emitter. The usual changes, I don't want any speed. Particles, for now, let's just put the conserve to 0.98. Let's say a max count of 1,000, just to begin. Always remember, start simple and add more complications towards the end. Give ourselves a bit more time. Right away, we're gonna put the texture on my emitter. I need to make my shelf, we'll do it later. window rendering editor is Hypershade. We're gonna create, there we go, assign a new material to this thing. Remember that it's just for pre-visualization of the texture. This is my mouse acting stupid. All right, assign the material to the object. Let's put a noise. We've done this before, okay? If you see, oh boy, this guy's going so quickly, it's because you're not on the right lesson. Then you should be at the beginning and go one at a time. All this has been covered before, and it will be stupid of me of burning precious time in class for that. Okay, purling noise. This is just so routine that, you know, it's not even fun. All right, cool. Frequency, then you play with this, you know, that's whatever you like. Okay, I like that. And that's what I'm gonna use. Sorry, I should have closed that. That's what I'm gonna use for my emitter. Okay, so here's my texture. I'm gonna grab my emitter, go to the attributes. You can see how quick it is once you're not, you know, teaching it and going slowly. Put it there, enable texture rate. Done. Let's see if it's true. I'm gonna up the rate. Remember that because you're using max count, doesn't matter if you up the rate, it's just to get them quickly, all at once. I see the 1,000 particles. There's my 1,000 particles. Because they're only 1,000, it's hard to read the texture. I can definitely see that it works. Like, I know that already. But why not put more? Because this computer can handle that. I have gotten comments, all sorts of comments. I'm just start to remember things as I teach, and I want to, you know, clear those things out. And I know you're going to watch this lesson because you've been waiting for it. As far as the resources of the computer, someone told me today, I cannot take the course because I only have 32 gigs of RAM. And man, if you've seen the computer where I learned these things, you will cry. I think your phone is faster. Because like I said, I'm a legacy guy, right? I'm a dinosaur guy. Then my computer was shit, and that's all we had. And I did this kind of stuff. If you see my first demo reel, one of these days I'm going to find it, I'm going to show you. My first reel, I think it's somewhere there. You will see that I have similar kind of things. So RAM is not an excuse. Computer resources are not an excuse because I can do 20,000 penguins or 200,000 penguins because I have an X type of machine. You may do 1,000 or 2,000. But setting up the scene and everything else is exactly the same. So there's no excuses as far as resources. You don't need to be rich. You don't need to have a supercomputer to be able to do this. That's bullshit. You need to learn the technique. You need to show it. You need to be creative in the way you present it. And let the studio where you're going to work give you the computer you need. So please, don't shield yourselves with the excuses of computers and resources and RAM, because that's not true at all. So please. Anyway, 10,000 birds. I say birds because that's where we're going. I'm going to put this to 40,000. My rate just so it's fast. All right, that's more like it. So here are 10,000 particles properly arranged. This texture, at the moment, because I'm doing something generic, I'm using a noise. If the time comes when you're doing this for a client and your client wants a very specific arrangement, then it's okay. He could paint the texture if he wants, or someone on his team can give you exactly what you need. Because I'm not, I don't think it's too far-fetched to expect them, for example, to have aerial shots of the real penguins, for example, and then you be dressing up more, because it's almost impossible for them to be able to fly over that place. First of all, to get there, that must be a nightmare. But let's say you're working on a high-profile shot, for a high-profile studio, for a very good show. It will be very tricky for them to go there at the time where they need to breathe, because if you've seen these things, these guys do this on winter. North Pole or South Pole, I think it's North Pole, in winter. So forget about flying over with helicopters and it's not going to happen. So, for them to be able to get the perfect shot, my point, it's going to be almost impossible. So if they want something more artistic, more beautiful, they might get something or some stock video or whatever of the real birds at some areas, and then you're going to have to dress the other ones, right? So if that's the case, then you can paint a texture. I'm using a procedural noise, this noise, to kind of mimic something that could be happening. But remember that's always an option. You can paint the texture yourself, or they can give you that texture. Okay, so keep that in mind. Okay, so we have 10,000 birds right here. I'm also want to show you probably a couple more tricks, and I think it's a good time to do it. Let's say, for example, that you don't want the edges, so straight. You want to be able to dial in as a circle, because they if you've seen here, they tend to grab like a circular shape. Well, it's kind of hard because you could kind of circular, right? Then how do we, there's a way you can help with this. There's another option you can use. So I'm going to open my hypershade one more time. Okay, I'm going to open the graph for this, which is right here. But I'm going to I'm going to break the connection that I have with the, I need to use my other mouse. Break the connection that I have with the noise and the color. And we can do this on texture mode right away. Okay, so I have nothing. I'm going to make myself a ramp, and I think I teach this on the effects power user as well. So I'm going to make myself a ramp. This ramp is going to be, let's say, instead of a V ramp, it's going to be a circular ramp. I'm going to probably invert this situation. And here on the white, I'm going to map my noise. Yeah. And then on my emitter, instead of using the noise, I'm going to break this connection. I'm going to use the ramp. Okay, and I'm going to assign let me see, my Lambert. Okay, this Lambert, I'm going to grab the ramp. Let me just grab it from here. Okay, grab my ramp and put that in color. Okay, so that would allow you to dial in and out where the particles are coming from. So let me just rewind, hit play, and you can see that you get the best of both. You get noise, and that's not something I did on my test shot. Where is it? 1 second. Let me just I closed them, but here I didn't do that. I just left them. I got this kind of arrangement just by having them come to the center. I wouldn't say walk, but they kind of were sliding towards the center. But this is a way, if you're not going to have them move, then you can use this technique. I think it's very cool. So you can say, well, I just want very small. I want my 10,000 penguins right at the center. And here they come. You will have to obviously tweak your texture a little, but it does work. You see? You will have to play with this a little bit more. I'm just giving you the option. I'm just going to stick to a bigger area. I'm just going to have them somewhere there. Adjust your noise accordingly. So grab the noise and then see whatever changes you need to make to get the most out of it. Just see what else I can do here. I can have more frequency or less. Okay, see if you find another pattern that you like more. You see lines like that if they were walking. Wispy. All right. So spend some time yourself working on that. So that's an option that you can have. And you can also you could add more colors. You can leave the white down here and add another black at the center, for example, if you just want a ring in the middle, then you get them all around here, right? There we go. So it gives you a lot of control, a lot of power. You can, if you want to have like a little ring of birds, then you could do something like this. See how cool? All right, so that's fine. I'm just gonna leave things. I'm gonna get rid of this color just to have my noise. Have a little bit of. Okay, I'm happy with that. Beautiful. And of course, as you have a circular ramp, you play with this. You can have a V ramp and then specify boundaries in one side or the other, a U ramp. Play with this. Diagonal, yeah. Radial. Beautiful. All right, circular ramp. All right, I don't need to see this texture anymore, and you can just stick in here. And then again, I'm gonna save this thing for the first time. So save scene as, this is lesson 8. 8, and let's say penguins. Okay, so nothing special. The only thing new was the bit with the texture. Beautiful, 10,000 birds, ready to go. What do we instance? You can model a penguin. I'm gonna give you one for you to try it and play with it. And like I said, they can be penguins, or they can be someone misplaced or misunderstood the image today on Facebook, and it was funny. He asked me if that was a battle, a war. I said, no, man, there's 20,000 penguins protecting themselves from the cold. And that's my example, but you can try something else, of course. Other situations, other type of animals, or whatever you like. So I'll leave that up to you. The assignment, yes, I do want you to replicate what I did as close as possible. I think sometimes my assignments have to be like that. I want you to, try to get what I got, and use that as a reference. After that, you can experiment with whatever you like. So I have one penguin here that I bought, which I'll pass over to you guys. Where I have it here. One second. I had it located already, right here. So here's my penguin OBJ. I'm going to import that into my scene. Okay. Here's the guy. Obviously, because he just got in, he has issues. So let's fix those issues first. I'm going to, in the meantime, grab my particles. But I don't have to really do anything. No, I was going to set them to non-dynamic, but because I'm going to be messing with this model, I don't need to. So I'm not going to hit play or anything. So this bird is fine. He's good looking. He even has texture, I believe, which we need to put in our project folder, I guess. Let me just double check this. This one has a Lambert one. Let me just double check that in a second. Because the one I'm using on my example is the same guy, but he has texture. So I want to make sure that I think I have a texture that came with him. Give me 1 second, please. I'm gonna pause this video so you don't get bored looking at me finding this. So 1 second, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, I have the texture. I already copied it to my project folder. So if you go to Documents, Maya, Projects, Effects Master, Source Images, here I got my penguin texture for the color and for the bump map. So I'm gonna give those to you as well. I'll upload all those 3. So let's go ahead and assign the texture first, just to see what it looks like. He has a Lambert 1 assigned to it, which I don't want. I want to have a new material for him. So once again, here we're on the Hypershade. If you want to make him a bit shiny or something, it's up to you. I'll leave the rendering up to you. Remember, that's not my problem, the render. So I'm going to assign this material to the guy, so he has a little bit of shine. They say that he's wet or something. But I know you can do a better job than me rendering this thing. So for now, I'm going to grab my blend and I'm going to plug a file texture to it. And I'm going to be using then the penguin, this guy right here. This .tx is something that Maya's going to make automatically for you. So it's up to you. You can use one or the other. I'm going to leave that there. So here is the guy, looking good. And Then later you can do a bump map if you want, or I leave that up to you. But he does have a bump texture as well. So the penguin bump, which is this one, and there he goes. All right. Let's just give this a minute. I think I plugged the TX file, but let me see if I can stop it. If it starts to take too long, then we should just kill Maya and open it back. So that's probably best at this stage because it seems like it's stuck. All right, so no worries. Let's kill Maya. Cool. Bring this back. The TX texture is something that gets, it's like Maya converts the texture once you hit render with Arnold, and it's something that it makes automatically for you. So let me just reopen this and quickly do what I did. All right. I'm just repeating the steps. So for my color, so I'm going to make sure that I'm using, okay, this color image. All right. Oh, I made a mistake and I assigned it to Lambert 1. So let me just break that. What I wanted was the blend one. And because it's already made, it should be here on the textures. There you go. I have file 1. So I can just grab that and just drop it in the color. So just in case, let's save it. And also we need to make one for the bump. I'm going to reduce this already because I know it's going to be a lot. So let's do it right this time. Let's find this guy. Because I was using this one and it should be this one. Okay. Hopefully, okay, perfect. All right, so here's your material. You can clear this thing if you want and then just show in and out connections and then you have all your control. I'll leave that up to you for the rendering. I just want to see how the bump looks like if I increase it. All right, so there you go. So it looks good. It's a good looking guy. You figure out the bump yourself, how much you need, depending on how close it's going to be to the camera. All right, so that part is taken care of. Now the problem with this bird is if I instance this guy on my particles, it's massive. So that's not really what I want. I want to grab him and scale him down to something more manageable. I'll be randomizing the scale of the penguin based on an expression later on. So probably he's about right now to begin with. This is a small area, so we're going to be increasing the size of this later. But I think, assuming that he comes from 3D Max or something like that, I think that it's always, you need to scale it by 0.1 because of the units. So I think he's more manageable. Another thing, before you do anything, have him face positive X. Okay, so rotate him in Y 90 degrees. That's also always the instance will work better that way. And also, the particles will be placed where the pivot point is. Or he will be placed on the particles based on the pivot point. So that means that if you do it, if you leave the pivot point like it is right now, then this guy is going to be always, across the surface, across the emitter. That's not really what you want. What you want is to have him, you just frame on him, 4. So you want him to be right touching on top of the surface. So what I need to do is move my pivot point somewhere down here and then place him where I want him, where I want all the other ones to be. So roughly there. I could be a bit more precise if I wanted. And have my pivot point somewhere there. Okay, so it's not floating. Probably like that. You'll figure out that yourself. You can modify that afterwards anyway. Once you do all that, you need to make sure that you clear, you freeze transformations and delete history. Now, another thing, depending on your shot, okay, depending on the proximity to the camera, you may need him or you may need a lighter version of him. Lighter version, I mean as far as a poly count. So it depends. If you're gonna be close up, then have something. What I used on my shot, because they're aerial shots, I use a lot less resolution. So if you wanted to go that way, then you can just grab this one, just save the scene, and then have other, a couple more penguins. So let's just do it. I just edit the mesh. I'm not big on modeling or anything like it, but I know that there is a tool, and you probably, like I said, you will do those things better than me. Why do I say that? Because on production, I don't have to do this. In production, I just have to tell the modeler that I need, 3 or 4 levels of detail, and then he will, probably that's something that is automatically done. The modern studios and the modern systems, the geometry has already built in 3, 4 different levels of detail. So it's not really a biggie. You could, I was gonna, you can add more. I think it's better to reduce it. So let's go ahead and reduce this thing. So reduce, cut it by, say, I don't know, 50%. You can keep the original just in case, if you have multiples. Hit reduce. Okay, so here is one with 50% of this one. We can grab it again and hit mesh again. Let's do another one just to test. And then you can switch them very quickly. I'll show you. We're gonna reduce this one. Instead of 50%, we're gonna do 75%. And here it is. So this is a 50, this is a 75, and that's the original. But I do want them on top of each other. Remember, I want to have them at the origin, and I want to have them with no history. So we can call this Penguin Master. This guy right here was my 50, and this was my 75. So I can say Penguin 50. Oops, sorry. Penguin 50 and Penguin 75. So Penguin Master has no translation on, let me just double check that, in X and in Y. Well, let me just double check. I want them at the origin. So there's my grid, there's my grid. Okay, so this guy is at the origin. And I'm calling him Penguin 50, that's correct, yes. So Penguin 50, it's okay. But these two guys are not. So I'm going to grab these two guys and I'm going to put them at the center. They're all pointing in X. They're all ready to go. All I need to do is delete history and freeze transformation and all that. So modify, freeze transformations. Here it comes. I just want to double check my guys because it took a bit too long to do that. So I want to make sure that that's true. So that's Penguin Master. We could put them in layers as well. Create a new layer from selected, so we can call that Master. And here it goes. Aha, you see? These guys got double transformation. So what we need to do is undo what we did. Undo this, undo that, undo the freeze transformations. I'm going to show you how to fix this. I'm sure you know already because you're modelers and you guys like to know all those things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab all 3 and I'm going to delete history first. So edit, delete by type, history. That should leave me 3 penguins with the proper amount of geometry in the right place. Now I can go in and modify freeze transforms. Because right now it was just because they had connections in between them, the low resolution with the high resolution. Whatever happens to the high res, it will happen to the low res through that connection plus what I asked. So we're getting double transformations. So that's what it is. So right now we have 3 penguins with our all zeroed out, the translations and rotations. They have no history. You don't want any baggage. Think of it as luggage. All those connections and things that get left over. You don't want any of that, because that's going to get passed on to your children, to all the duplicates, all the instances. They will carry that information. That's what it makes your scene impossible to use. So you have to always do this little homework first, clean up, and then you're fine. So there you go. Let's just put them quickly in layers. I think keeping the scene organized is key. Sorry. There you go, master. Let's put this at 50. Okay, 50% is invalid, only contain, okay, well. Let's call this half res. No, I don't like it, I'll put it half res. Half res, and then this, let's say quarter res or something. Or low res. So basically here's my master. Let me just, okay, so the master didn't get assigned to the right layer. Where is he? Let me just see, half res. It has my half res penguin, that's correct. My low res, it is fine. But my master, I don't see him. And you know what, man, I got rid of him. Oh, balls. I got rid of him. That's the cool thing when I'm teaching live, because you guys can warn me. Hey, you deleted it, but I need to go back. Okay, here's my master again. So you don't see me do this again. I'm gonna pause the video and do what you saw me do earlier. Just put the layers in place. 1 second. Okay, all done. So 3 layers, high res penguin, half a res penguin, and low res penguin. So I'm gonna save my scene and continue. Okay, so this is basically, it's a little bit boring, but you have to do it at the beginning in order for you to be able to go home at 6 and enjoy your weekend and everything. If you don't do this kind of stuff, you're gonna pay for it, believe me. So perfect, this is fine. We can call our particles penguin particles. You know, name everything. It's a good way of practicing. Okay, so everything is named, everything is beautiful and fine. We have textures. We already have a lot of control, so you can start turning into like a system right away. But I know what you want to see is just some penguins on the scene, so let's go for it. Let's grab our low res and then go to back to the effects menu. You go to the end particles. Remember, you go to the instancer, which is right up here. Here's my penguin 75. It's going to be instanced into my penguin particle shape system and hit create. And now we're going to get all these guys. Okay. There's quite a lot. So for the sake of speed and testing, let me just pause this thing because they're still being born. But you can already tell, 1 second, because it's a lot of stuff. All right. You can already tell that they're there. They're just way too many. So let's go ahead and reduce this just for getting our first value set up. We're going to reduce it to 1,000 particles, so meaning 1,000 birds. There's 1,000 penguins. With 1,000 penguins, we get pretty much close to real-time display. Everything is good. And they're all there. They're all there. They're all placed where they're supposed to be. Let's just look at this through the right view. Here's the wireframe, and none of them are going through the ground. You can see that's all based because the master one is doing his job correctly of being in the right place. They all carry the texture. You can see, with bump and everything. We can save this. And because that's one of the most satisfying things, you may want to see your stuff rendered right away. I'm going to grab my emitter. I'm going to put it on a layer because you don't want to render that one. I'm sure you want something better. It looks like ice or something. So this is out of the picture. Let's make a new polyplane. Scale this guy up. This is going to be your environment. Put that over there, whatever you like. You'll deal with the material for that as you wish. You can download a ice material or something. I think what I did for my testing was just simply to get some reflections, right? I opened the Hypershade and I made a blend. And then assign that to this thing. So I get some reflectivity. You need to play with the material for the bird itself because the bird itself is also reflective, so you may not want so much. But like I said, this is not a rendering course. You'll figure that out. For my case, I'm just gonna grab this blend and I'm gonna make it white. I probably put a bump map on this guy, some sort of, for example, fractal. Something like this. And we can play with this texture if you want. Sorry, where's my fractal? Fractal 1. Play with these values to get something a bit more appropriate, to get patches, you see? So, mess with that. You can create a noise or something a bit different. But I think for me, this is good. Okay, so all that is set. I'm gonna save it. The easiest way of testing this render is just to use, well, you can use Maya software if you want. Let's compare a couple of things. So here's my render view. You can begin with Maya software and then you get something basic and a bit ugly. Right? Save that, or you can try with Arnold. And for Arnold, you need to make a light. And the easiest thing you can do is just make a sky dome. There we go. Hit render. And adjust your values, of course, accordingly. I think they're too reflective, the little birds. So let's make sure that we'll grab the master and then we have access to the material here. And let's make them a lot less reflective. You can see that's what dictates the white. So bring them down a little bit. Very little reflectivity on it, and let's try again. I think it's the most satisfying thing. Once you do this kind of stuff, then you start seeing results and everything starts to work really well. I think my plane is also very reflective. Let's just do a little piece. Okay. Just wait for it to finish. Way too much. Let's just see, we take this down and see the difference. Okay. I think also the penguins are the ones that are giving a little trouble here. So for now, I'm going to get rid of the eccentricity and the specular color. I'm going to put it to black and see if it makes any difference. Yeah. And then you dial numbers up and make it look, as you expect. But even though, they're already reflective, you see? But the thing is that there's so many of them and they're all reflective, so they all almost become like sources of light. But as far as getting your thing tested and things, things look at everything is working, then this is a good setup. So that this is fine. All right, so things are working. Let's save this thing. Issues, of course, all the penguins are the same size, and they're all looking the same way. They might be looking at a concert, so that's fine. Or this could be Happy Feet or something. That's as far as the orientation, I'm gonna deal with the scale first, because that's they definitely look like clones. And once you start randomizing things, it's going to start to look real. And that's when you can get away with one penguin to do 20,000. So to randomize the scale is relatively simple. You can go in and we're going to make an attribute for it. So I'm going to make an attribute. Remember, that is the first question is what kind of variable, what kind of attribute it's going to be. Because we're dealing with scale, and you want to randomize the size of the bird in all three axes, then you're going to need a vector. And each particle will need to have their own value. So it's a per particle. So a vector that will handle x, y, and z on a per particle basis, so each one of them can be different. Hit OK. I haven't put a name, of course. So I'm going to call this, for example, rand scale. Here's my attribute. Nothing is going to happen at the moment because that's just an attribute, an empty container. I'm going to go in and I'm going to make a creation expression. And it's a creation expression unless you want the birds to change size over time. If you're doing some sort of effect that needs to be that way, then go ahead. But if it's just them being born differently from each other, then it's a creation expression. It's a vector, so it needs to begin with these symbols. And all I need to do is randomize all three channels. From, let's say that the biggest bird is going to be this size. Okay, and the smallest bird can be anything you like. It can be, for example, 0.5. Okay, and because we are lazy, we're going to copy this, and we're going to use that in all three channels. Now, one thing that's going to happen is this kind of expression, okay, it's going to randomize the size. It's going to have a random value in x, y, and z. So there could be some that are very skinny and tall, some that are very short and fat, and anything in between. If you wanted to keep the proportions of this thing, it will be a different expression. So I'm going to show you both. This will randomize them in, like I said, all three axes differently. And if you want to have something different, so a proportional scaling, okay, and then you can do is this. You can just say, for example, float y because it's a number, and I'm going to call this float dollar scale rand, just to not confuse with the other one, you guys. And that's going to be equal to a random number between 0.5 and 1. That's just basically declaring a variable. That is a number. It's called this. And that number is going to be a random between 0.5 and 1, similar to what I have here. Sorry, it's not like that. It's like this. Okay? So that's fine. And then you can say, then the random scale, which is the name of the attribute that I'm going to be using, is equal. Okay? And then you open this. Sorry, open this, and then you can say the name of the variable. Like that. These two lines are going to scale them proportionally, and this one randomly. So let's try them both. I'm going to try them. Because I cannot have both at the same time, I'm going to skip one. I'm just going to copy it anyway. Hit create, there's no errors, nothing changes. It's normal because first of all, it's a creation expression. And second of all, we haven't connected this to anything. So even if I rewind and play, they're gonna come out the same way. Even this expression is being here. Because we need to plug that into the instancer. So the instancer, you select the particles, you go to the instancer tab, which is right here. And there is an attribute called scale. If you open this list, at the bottom is my new attribute. And there they go. So let's see what happened. can see they randomize these guys, but some of them are very short. Look at this one, it's like squeezed. We need to make sure our expression is using the right numbers. Let me just see. Sorry, let me just, there we go. Okay, so there we go. We have a random value between, and then I made a mistake. I put 0,5 instead of being like 0.5 and 1. I don't know why I did this. This is the right thing. So basically what I want is this. But there you go. You can see what it will do from 0 scale. Some of them are like invisible, and some of them are 5 units tall. So that's why you get some that are really ugly and skinny. Like, look like a sheet of paper. Look at this one. There you go. So look at these things. This is a penguin actually. But that's just making that mistake. But I think it's a happy accident, so you can see the result. So what you really want to say is 0.5 and 1. It's because I was typing it wrong. Hit edit, hit rewind, and hit play. That's more like it. So this is cool. I like this result, and that's what I used on my testing. I'll leave it up to you. So this is scaling them that way. So you get little short, fat ones like that one. You get skinny ones, okay? You get all sorts. So that's one result. We can test the proportional scaling, see if you like it better. Okay, so there are little ones and big ones, and they're all proportional. It's up to you. You see what you like. And you can tweak this, and then you have really little ones. So you get little baby ones. You see? Little baby ones and big fat old ones, mom and dad and the little kids. So it's up to you. If you want to keep the proportions of the original model, then this is the right way to go. But if you want something more extreme because you're going to look at it from the distance and it's hard to read differences, then go with the other one. You can have both expressions here and then just switch them like that. You see? It's because, I don't know, maybe I like the fat ones because I'm fat, so I like the little fatty ones. It reminds me of Happy Feet, the movie Happy Feet, so then you get little ones. But I'll leave that up to you. And you can say like this, like that, and like that, and have more extreme results. And of course, this could get out of hand at some point because this looks like a midget. It looks kind of weird, but it's up to you. You play with any scale that you like. This is not going to slow you down or anything. That's fine. It's just the way it works. It's not a slow expression or anything. It's executed only once when they're born, so it's not a problem. All right, so we get the scale taken care of. Now let's place them and orient them randomly. So they're all looking into different directions. Right now they're not looking at the Rolling Stones thing in here, so they just want them to be standing up and hanging out. So for that, we're going to repeat the procedure. We're going to make a new vector because it's rotation. We're going to call them random rotation, for example, randrod. Hit OK. Also, an expression on creation. And this one is simple because what you want to do is rotate them randomly, but not in all 3 axes, right? I'm going to show you why not. So let's say that this is equal, and let's say that you make a mistake and you're not thinking, and then you say, well, random, and remember that it's going to be between 0 and 360 degrees, right? So you can say that, or you can say rand 360 only. It's more elegant, shorter. Okay, rand 360. Let's say that you make this mistake, because in this case it will be a mistake. If you hit edit, nothing will happen. You know that. We're going to need to go to the instancer and connect that to the rotation. Nothing happens because it's a creation expression. You need to rewind and hit play. And then you have this mess. Random rotation and scale, random scale. And you get this problem right here. And I make a mistake and I said random scale and I did that. That's what they exploded. This random rotation. Let me just hit this, rewind. Right now I scale them 360 times. So you make this mistake. So you get birds that are rotated randomly, yes, but in all three axes. So you get this kind of stuff that look like they're being shot or something. It's quite disturbing, actually. But there you go. If you need a big pile of dead birds, then you could probably do this. You don't want that. What you want to rotate them is in Y, in the Y axis. So this will be 0, and this will be 0. Only in the Y axis. Hit edit, hit rewind, hit play, and there they are. If you don't realize Y is Y, the Y axis, then you can grab your low res penguin, which is right there. Hit the rotation key, and you can see that the axis that you want to modify is the Y axis. Sorry, I'm grabbing the particles. Let me just grab my low res penguin, and you can see that it's Y, the one I want to move. Yep, perfect. Save my scene just in case, and there they are. So this already has all the control you need in order for you to place them in a believable way. And here comes the situation that I was saying at the beginning of the class. Forget about interpenetrations, forget about all the stupid stuff. If you're going to put the camera inside, then you shouldn't go for this route. Or even in some angles you can get it, you can get away with it. I will teach you later ways of helping a little bit avoid this kind of stuff. But even in a situation like this, I don't spot much. Let me just render it. But the instancer is not something you're going to use for close-up shots or hero shots, like they call. But in a situation like this, you may even get away with it. And here are my guys. Perfect. You can even test something right now. Let me just look at that. There you go. Find the interpenetration. Very hard. And like I said, add that atmosphere and motion blur and defocus and everything, and forget it. You're never going to see it. It looks very believable, very natural, to be honest. Here you can tweak many things. Let's say that your director, like always, they tell you that the shot is going to be wide, it's going to be from far away, and then you set up for that, and then all of a sudden he just puts the camera like this one. Don't need to panic. You don't need to redo any of the things that you did. You just need to go into your your particles. Let me open my outliner, so that's what I was trying to say. Open the outliner, and then you grab your instancer node, and here you got your Penguin 75. You could add your Penguin Master by selecting both. You can add the selection, and then you could remove the Penguin 75. And you can see that you keep the same positioning, just a higher resolution penguin. So I'm going to save this image, run my other one. It will take a little bit longer to render because it's like 3 times more detail. And you'll be the judge of it, but at least you can play with the resolution of the birds. So this should technically look nicer as far as the geometry goes. They all share one material, which is very, very interesting and very useful because you can quickly tweak the bomb mapping and everything. And there we go. So this is the high resolution penguin, and this is the low resolution penguin. So you can see it definitely on the texturing, right? A bit better. They rotated a little bit, and it could be because we need to double check if the Penguin Master doesn't have any rotations or things like that that are left over, but they shouldn't. Let's just double check that. Okay, Penguin 75. You see the Penguin 75? It has a rotation here. For some reason, I think I left it. So that's why they're moved a little bit. So Penguin 50 is okay, Penguin 75. That's why they move a little. They shouldn't move. They won't move once you tweak that I did. So here's my high resolution Penguin. It looks a lot nicer. If you wanted, for example, you can grab your Penguin master and then edit, for example, the material. So for the bump map, you could go ahead and increase, let's say that you want a lot of bump. Okay, so here's my master file. My bump is set to 1. We can try it. Just want to make sure, yeah, that's fine. All right, so saving this image, running one more. It's very cool because any changes you do to the master, they will propagate to the slaves. So I guess in a situation, if the shot were, calling for a close-up camera and you're gonna go for this route, then you might need 2 or 3 different birds with probably the position of the neck being different. Some that are turning to the left, looking up, looking down. Depends. Like I said, this is not designed, and it's holding up, and I'm actually proud of this. It's holding up on this proximity to the birds. So here we go. Actually, I don't see much change on the bump mapping. So let me just double check that I did it on the right material. Bring 1, this is my bump. This is fine. And my texture. Well, it's something that you need to tweak afterwards. Like I said, it's not a rendering course. But I'm showing you that you can tweak, you can switch from your high resolution Penguin to your low res Penguin and see what difference, it will have. Beautiful. Until now, we're fine. Getting good progress. I'm going to save my scene. Okay, so I'm going to switch back to my low res Penguin because we're going to need a lot more now. So I'm going to go back to my instancer. I'm going to grab right away my low res Penguin. The other way around, I'm going to add my Penguin 75. I'm going to remove my Penguin high res. And here are my guys. The only thing you need to keep an eye on is that if your client likes what he saw, and you rewind and play, then you're going to end up with a different arrangement on the birds as far as rotation and scales. So you need to be very careful with this. When you show the client the scenario that you have, then you might want to cache the particles. We'll talk about it in a minute because I don't think it's time yet to do that. But let's save the initial state or something. But we'll deal about it in the next lesson. For now, I just want you to get up to this stage. But let's keep moving because I want this class to be a bit more complete, a bit longer, but you have more time. So as soon as you start pushing, pulling away, the better this thing will start to look. Like anything in effects, I think. So, starting to look more and more like the promotional images that I did. Here it is. Excellent, right? Now we can play with our emitter. So now let's bring the emitter back and let's try to get to what I showed last night as far as the promotional picture. So let's go in here. Here's my emitter. Let me just get this in now. I'm just going to make it probably like this long. And let's say about that size. I'm going to grab this, put it in the center, just so I have a bigger area of animals. So probably need to scale this a little bit more. Okay, something like that. I don't need to see it anymore. Let's rewind, hit play. Now they have more room for them to be. On my testing, on the promotional picture, I had 20,000 of these guys. you could remember very easily, just take the max count. For now, I'm just gonna make 10,000 of them. Save my scene always. And there they are. If you want them all at once, you know what to do. Grab the emitter. I think I put 100,000. 1 second. No, max count 10,000. That's right. So 10,000 at a rate of 40,000 a second is going to take about 50, about 80 something frames. So I don't want that. I want them to be faster. I'm going to make them all at once. All right, cool. Pause this. If you find that, like I was saying earlier, the computer, your computer, just pause this, still playing back. All right. Your computer will be able to handle a certain amount of birds, depends on your resources. It's no excuse not to do this exercise or not to do, not to learn it. So you can do it with 1,000, with 10,000, I don't care. Just do, follow the steps. Think of something. I'm displaying here a polygon model that could be probably too high res for what I'm trying to do. I'm showing textures, I'm showing bump maps, I'm showing everything at once. So if you can always play like this and it'll be faster, you see? You can always go to wireframe and it'll be even faster. Or for the sake of this, you don't even have to show the instancer at the beginning. You can just place your particles. You see, your scene get back to normal. Then you go back to the proper display. You see, real time. Get your particles in place because you know what they're doing. You know that as soon as you say, you can even put this guy on a layer. So let's do that. Let's put this guy on a layer. And let's call this instances. And then you can just switch back and forth. You can just do your work, save your scene like this. So it opens quickly. Actually, no. Never save it with particles visible. What I meant save it like this means with the instancer hidden. So there you go. Get your birds in place. You're happy. Show them. And hit render. So you're fine. Okay, so here they are. If you need to see the texture, then you can see the textures. But you can see that they're distributed randomly. They're looking good. They have noise on the placement. They have random scale, random rotation. So the last thing missing here is to get to a point where you start to feel that these guys were moving. And this is going to work best always if you are doing still images or they move very, kind of slow. Like I said, this works in some cases. In other cases, you might need to do something a little bit different. But you can see that very quickly you can get to something that looks amazing because I'm teaching and I'm going slow. But I know that in 10 minutes you get this. And that's something that is very impressive for anybody, especially your clients. So I think you're in good shape. So if you want to go with a pattern like that, for example, like this, not this one, this picture, where you can start to see like, a path that they're taking as groups, okay, towards the center. The way I did this is using a field. So again, for the sake of testing, we're going to go back to 1,000 penguins. All right. I'm just going to grab my penguins. I'm just going to go back to 1,000. And for now, I'm not going to show textures because it's a waste of resources. And there's my 1,000 guys, just to see and to see if it works. All right, so perfect. I'm going to again save my scene. I always save because I cannot waste time. If I crash my scene right now, it's going to be a problem. It's going to take too long. And so basically what I'm going to do is create a field. So I'm going to grab my particles. So it's connected right away. I'm going to select my field and I'm going to make let's say a volume axis field. Great. And this volume axis field, I'm going to make the size of my whole thing. Maybe even a little bit more. All right. and I'm going to make it very, very short in Y. I'm going to grab my scale in Y and I'm going to scale it down to, let's say, I don't know, 0.2. Why am I doing this? I'm going to explain it right away. Why is it so little? Well, basically, I don't want my burst to start flying around. I'm going to grab my emitter. Well, it's not visible. Okay, so here's my emitter and my field together. So if I make it too big and I start to put turbulence in this thing, my burst might just start flying around. And this is going to be a bit delicate to work with. So basically, I think having a small field like this will help me get to where I want to go. All right, so now I need to see the emitter. I need to focus on this. I may not even need to see the instances for now. All I want to make sure is that these particles are moving the way they should move. So just as it is, it does work. You can see the particles are being pushed by the field. But what I want is to actually pull them towards the center, right? So I'm going to grab my away from center, which is set to 1. I'm going to make that -1. You've seen this field in use already. So it's nothing, nothing special right now. Away from axis, I don't want it. I don't want anything else. I just want to have them come closer to the center. And that's what's happening here. You see how it's easier to test it without the bursts? You deal with the bursts later. Right now, I just want to make sure that this field is doing what you want. Okay, so that's fine. They're not flying around. They're stuck on the ground. Yep. We're doing too strong of a force. So I'm going to go in and I'll deal with it later. I'm just going to grab my field and I'm going to reduce the magnitude to 1. I'll show you in a minute what I wanted to say. Okay, so this is normal. I also want to add some turbulence, and that is built in here already. So I'm going to put some turbulence, let's say a value of 1. Okay, way too much, but it works. Cool. I'm also going to make the force stronger outside than it is inside because I want them to start to come towards the center. But once they get to this point, I don't want them to be, moving too much. So what I want is an attenuation. Let's say attenuation, but the regular attenuation, you know that it makes a field weaker the further you get away from the center. So it's stronger here and weaker here. What I want is the inverse of this. And there is an attribute called invert attenuation, which does exactly that. So right now the field is weaker here and stronger all around. So we get that. Like I said, I know it's too much. And if you wanted to see funny stuff, then you can just do this. And let's hope that it works. Let's see. There they are. And they'll be moving like crazy. But it does work. And the trick here is that they don't go below the ground. And above the ground, and they do at the moment. You see my terrain, it's right there. And you can see some of them, they kind of force down a little. So to help you fix that, what you can do is grab the particles, and I'm going to take the conserve down to 0. That's going to solve two problems. That's going to make them not move as fast and don't go below the ground that much. Is to avoid using collisions. You see what I mean about efficiency and about being flexible with your mindset? The regular Joe will grab a particle and grab this plane and put a collision in there. And then he's going to notice that his scene is going to slow down like to a crawl because it's too much. So that's when they start complaining about mine and start thinking about whatever, other options. Excuse me. It's not necessary. Collisions are not needed for this. We can solve that in a different way. So now we have the changes there. Let's see what it looks like. So we have the attenuation set to 1, inverted. We took the conserve of these guys and put it to 0. We can Save just in case, and hit play. And there they go. You see? They're a lot more manageable. And they don't move that fast. Those little guys, and like I said, if you're gonna put the camera right here and see them move, then we need to do something else. This is more for getting the placement as a group. Okay, so let's see what they do. So they start to move. All right, cool. They're moving slowly, but they're moving. I don't need to see these instances at the moment. Let's stick to the points. And let's do a couple more changes. And I'll let you play with this field a bit more. There's an attribute called detailed turbulence that is almost like a frequency on this. It makes it more, the pattern of the turbulence is more detailed. It has more resolution on the image. Let's say that it's used for turbulence. So the movement is a bit more smooth. So let's try that. Okay, and adjust things accordingly as you like. I'm gonna have them come to the center with a bit more strength. Well, a lot more strength. I just wanna see what it looks like. Okay, so that was too much. But as far as arranging a still image or arranging a nice pattern on them, this could be a good way to go. So basically, let me just increase my turbulence, my frequency, and you will say, but are you crazy? They're gonna move like they're crazy. And that's fine, because remember, you just wanna place them in a natural way. Then you will remove the dynamics and leave the birds in there so they don't move. And they will do, once you have your atmosphere and things like that, then it will start to look more real. So for now, what I want is just to have them come in a natural pattern. I think I can put more particles now. So let's just put 5,000. All right. Okay. You see how they start to clump together? So that's good. Let's just see. I just brought my instances back. There they are. And there they are. Cool. The only problem is that they are moving. If I come closer, they're moving and they're not aiming to where they're supposed to. So that you will see, they look kind of weird. You see, some are going backwards, some are going sideways. So basically what is missing here is that they need to see where they're going, they need to move, they need to look in the direction or where they're moving. And that's very simple to fix as well. If you grab your particles, and you go to the instancer node, so let me just find it, 1 second, instancer, okay? Then you have something called aim direction, which you can set to the velocity, okay? The thing is that aim direction and rotation together, they don't seem to work really well. And the rotation, we were using the rotation so they were born with a different orientation, each one of them. But once they start to move, that's not really needed anymore, because that's was just for a still image or something, or a different kind of situation where you're just gonna place them in there. So if you just wanna move them, then you can get rid of this and set the aim direction to the velocity, and you can see that now all of them are facing where they're going. And yeah, a couple of issues will come through, but in general, you see they turn and they look in the right direction. So right now there's too many of them too close to each other, but it's working. We can solve this, we can make it a little more natural by grabbing the emitter. And probably grabbing the emitter, the render plane, and the field, and scaling everything a lot more. So you get a lot more space. So now we need to see the emitter. Save this. Sorry, I was hiding the wrong thing. Just like this. Okay, so now let's see. This field as well, just for the sake of displaying, we're gonna put that in a layer. hiding it. And once again, save and hit play. Oh, well, we also need to fix our texture probably on the emitter. Let me just grab my render plane. I'm gonna call that ice. Sorry. Okay. I'm gonna put that on a layer. Okay, and let's make sure that the birds are being born where they're supposed to. Right now they're being born in this area. We need to make sure that they're born everywhere. So for that, I'm just gonna grab my instances and hide it, go to wireframe, and make sure that this emitter is responding to the texture as it's supposed to. Rendering, hypershade. The material that is assigned to this is, well, you can just look at this, that's the material. I just want to make sure that the ramp is being used correctly. So let's go back to 6, because I should be getting particles on the edges as well, all around. And I'm not. So I want to make sure, I'm going to double check my my emitter, the texture of my emitter. So I'm going to grab my emitter here. I'm going to go to the attributes. It's using the texture and it's using the ramp, so we can tweak this a little and make sure that it's working. And I don't see that it's doing much to help me. So it's good to always test this thing. So let's make sure that we make it fully a noise. You see, it's not really working there. So just for the hell of it, I'm gonna, because I scaled it, I'm gonna disable it. Have them everywhere. Okay. And you can see that it's not really showing here. So basically, it could be I could just being stupid and having the wrong plane here. But this is my emitter. It does have a texture, but somehow it's not really respecting this. It seems almost like it's being emitted from somewhere else. You don't need to panic on this, not at all. What I would do, because I don't want to spend time debugging something so stupid, I can just remove the texture altogether. So I'm just gonna go here. Well, right now it's disabled and it's still doing that, but I'm just gonna break this connection completely and make sure that I figure out why this is doing, it's doing this thing. So I don't like that. If it's not working for you, the easiest way would be to delete this emitter, leave the particles, and that gives me a situation to show you something. You can recreate this emitter by going into the same thing, emit from object. Okay, so emit from object, surface, and it will create a new particle system down here. And you will tell me, Luis, but why, I don't want to redo the whole thing. Why don't you just fix it? You don't have to redo anything. You can just double check that this works. And right now you see the whole plane is emitting, which is great. But I don't like these particles and I don't want to redo everything I did. No need to worry. You just need to grab these particles, get rid of them, grab the new particles, go to Window, Relationship Editors, Dynamic Relationships, and you're going to connect the penguin particles to the new emitter 1. Double check that. Now they work, you see? They come from the edges. Done. That's all you need to do. And then you can plug your textures again, of course. But I mean, as far as fixing a problem, this is what a dinosaur legacy guy will do. I will delete everything that I know that is nothing, is so stupid. Probably something got broken when I scaled it or something, or Maya it's been acting funny. But I don't sit here complaining or blaming Autodesk or their mothers for that. No, I just get rid of my emitter. It takes me less than a minute to make a new one, reconnect it, and it's all done. Even though the textures are still here, I can plug that if I want to. So let's take a look. But right now it's working, you see? All I need to do is bring my rate back up to what I had before, which I don't remember, but I don't care. It was simple. Here's my outliner. I said my max count is set to 5,000 birds. So I could just grab my emitter, add 2 zeros, and get my 5,000 birds in half a second. There they are, 5,000 of them, all coming towards the center. And of course, a couple of things that you need to do by grabbing the velocity of this and put it to 0. But that's it, problem solved. You want to plug the texture back? Sure, no worries. You grab this, go back, and because I have them created here, I got my ramp, okay? I can go ahead and throw it back in here. And I'm pretty sure you had to do probably with the UVs of the plane after I scaled it, but I don't care. I don't have time to waste on that. So right now, if you just want to test it, okay, that works. Let's say that I want then a circle. It works. So problem solved. Less than a minute. No tears, no complaining. It works. Cool. So that looks good. But we have a little bit of an issue still. Is that all of them are moving with the same speed. And we had the problem with the birds in the lesson 2, probably, the beginning. We wanted them to be different velocity, each one of them. So what you could do is grab your penguins and mess with the mass a little bit on creation. And you can do something cool. You can relate the mass with the speed of the bird. That's something you can try just for fun. You could just simply say it's a random number between 1 and 2, for example. That already will give you a different result. Different speed, you get a little bit more natural motion, some are getting left behind. That works, and it's fine. For the assignment, relate the scale of the bird, for example, with the mass. So maybe, I don't know, the big ones move faster, or the little ones, which are hyperactive and newborn, they kind of run a bit more than the others. So I'll leave that up to you to try, just for the sake of testing, just to challenge you a little bit. I want you to try that as well. But for now, I think this will do the trick. Beautiful. So I'm happy with this pattern. I'm going to show my eyes layer. I'm going to hide my emitter. I'm going to rewind, show my instances. I'm going to save my scene. I'm going to place them. If your computer is a bit, it's not as strong, then you can have even a lower res bird. It will look good from far away, believe me. Okay, so I'm happy with this. Stop, okay. There they are, my guys, with textures. Place a camera. Give me a resolution. Make sure that you have a nice framing. I'll leave that up to you. But here, render. That's my arrangement. It does work. It does look believable. And once you guys prepare your scene and finish your homework, then we're going to go and add more things to it. We're going to add atmosphere. We're going to add snow. We're going to add a couple more things and make it look even cooler. And you will say, yeah, Luis, it looks fine, but you said there were 20. That's 5,000. No worries. Just to finish the class, I'm going to make 20,000. I'm going to force this to give them to me in a second. I'm not going to show them as they're born because it's going to be too much. Hit rewind, save, play. There's 20,000 of them moving, coming closer. Let's say that I'm happy with that scenario. So show my instances. You can see the computer can handle it. And I'm even gonna do for your pleasure, I'm gonna make a full HD render just to see how long it takes. Just to see them a bit better. I'm actually going to record just a little video for Instagram. Okay, so as you can see, there's the end of lesson 8, I believe it's lesson 8. Those are my 20,000 penguins coming to life. This rendering is looking really good. For those of you watching the video on Vimeo on demand, then, well, thank you for the class. You know your assignment. I'm gonna upload the penguin to the FTP server so you guys can play. You know that you have to replicate this. Put as many penguins as your computer can handle. Don't worry about it. Just get the orientation, get the random scale working. Everything is looking well. This is an HD render with 20,000 penguins. So it's looking really, really good. So perfect. Okay, so I was recording a little Instagram video as I was recording the class. So yeah, there you go. So I'm going to upload the penguin to the FTP server. I'll do it right away with the 2 textures for the bump and the color. Try to get this working. Try to give me something interesting. If you want to push it to a different level or add more complexity, by all means, go for it. So with that, it's a very long and cool class. I hope you enjoyed it. And I'll see you on the next one. Thank you very, very much. Goodbye.